I think something that we all know about Notion is that it doesn't work that great on your phone. However, to use Notion as a solid app to manage your life, you kind of need it to work on your phone anyways, because a lot of our lives are on the go outside with no access to a computer. Hi, welcome in. My name is Rosanna. I'm a project manager turned content creator, and I love healthy productivity. And one of the tools that I use to manage my life is Notion, which should not come as a surprise to regulars of the channel. So in today's video, I would like to share a list of tips that you can apply to your Notion setup and to your Notion phone setup to make sure that it becomes usable on your phone. A little heads up, I'm an iPhone user, so not all of these tips might work for you if you're on Android or any other type of phone. However, I would still recommend watching the video because a lot of tips are not phone dependent, and also I'm not very well versed in Android phones, so there might be an alternative to the specific option that I'm showing you on Android, like adding a widget to your home screen and stuff. So feel free to still follow along, and if you're an Android user and you actually know how to do something, feel free to leave some tips in the comments down below for other Android users so that you can share some alternatives with them. But without further ado, let's actually hop into our tip number one, and that is to actually not build your Notion dashboard or your Notion setup on your phone. Build it on your computer and then use it on your phone. So to get us started, let me actually hop into Notion on my computer so that I can share the rest of the tips showing you the setup. If it becomes relevant, I'll make sure to put a recording of my phone on the screen as well, so you can follow along both on the computer and on my phone itself. And we're gonna use my task page because that's the page that I mostly use on my phone as an example for this. So I have actually set this up on my computer and made sure to configure everything here, and then I only use it in day-to-day life on my phone. But it's just a ton easier to set up filters, to set up buttons, to make sure that the page layout is correct if you do it on a computer. So that would be my first main tip, is make sure that you actually set it up on your PC or on a laptop, it doesn't really matter, and then just add it to your phone as a page that you can quickly access. But don't try and build it on your phone, because believe me, I've tried and it wasn't good. Then tip number one is actually a nice segue into tip number two, and that is make specific pages that you want to view on your phone. This is not my actual dashboard. This is a very specific task overview that I made solely to use on my phone. I have my main dashboard, which for anyone who hasn't seen my Notion tour, this is what it looks like. This is my home hub. This is what I use on my computer. And this is actually kind of a nightmare to use on my phone because this main menu, for instance, already does not work well on my phone. The columns get all mushed up. Everything gets squished together into one column, and it's not a good look. So in my core pages, I have made sure to make a specific mobile page. I plan on making more if I need them on the go, but I made sure to make a specific page that I only view on my phone, and this way I don't have to be bothered by the hassle of all the other things that I'm seeing in my dashboard that don't really work on my phone anyways. Then this is a very nice segue into tip number three, and that is, as you can see, this page is set up in a way to only use one column. On your phone, I can highly recommend don't try to build a fancy layout like I've done here with multiple columns and like things stacked on top of each other. It just does not work. Specifically, if you start mixing and matching with, like, this is obviously the main menu is like one wide column all across the page, and then this is three columns under it. Notion phone does not like this. I'll actually put like a little recording on the screen now of what it looks like on my phone, this exact same dashboard. The main menu is all squished together. The columns are not in the right order. The things that I'm using, you can see the filters on every Notion view on phone, which is something that I really do not like. I wish you could hide them, but like the filters and the sort button and stuff is all visible. The images don't size well. As you can see, this is not something that you would want to use, so that's why I recommend please make specific phone pages and keep to one column, because this will actually look the best on your phone. Let me show you what this page looks like on my phone. You can still see all of the statuses and the sorts and stuff, which doesn't make it as clean as I wish it would be. You can clearly see the difference to the version on computer and the version on my phone. The version on phone is still not the prettiest. Like, it looks so much cleaner on PC, and I really wish Notion fixed this, but it is at least usable, and it makes Notion functional to a degree that I can still manage my day-to-day life in here to a degree that I need it, basically. So you can still see at the top, you have my overdue, then there is my today view, then there is my tomorrow and my next 7 days and my 30 days, and it's just very clean. I can see all the information I need. It's sorted in order. I can quickly see the statuses and stuff like this. So this is just very functional. It's not necessarily pretty. I think we all need to agree that Notion on phone is never going to be pretty, but it gets the job done, and that's the most important thing. Then tip number 4, you can also already see over here, and you just saw it on my phone setup, and that is for your databases. Instead of using your database view or any other view for that matter, use your list view. Your list view is by far going to look the best on phone. If you change the view here, you can actually do that in the context menu, and then in the layout, you can change it to another view. You can use table, board, timeline, calendar, list, gallery, and chart. Gallery also looks doable or decent on phone, so if you have a database that will look better in gallery view, you can do that as well. But I would specifically not recommend using the table or the board view, because both of those are also a bit wider, and it creates this like horizontal scroll, which already happens on PC sometimes if your monitor is not big enough and your database is too wide. But this on phone is like a double the nightmare, so just don't do it. Use your list view, because this actually looks really clean. And also something that I really like to do is you can actually go into the properties section, and you can hide or show certain properties to make sure that this view doesn't get like ridiculously populated with 10 properties that are absolutely irrelevant for you to see. But you can also rearrange the properties. So I always like to have the status in the end, because that on phone makes the status feel like in an intuitive position, because it actually shows up below the task right on the right side of your screen, specifically if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, it might actually be useful to flip these around so that on your phone it will be on your left-hand side. So kind of experiment with that, but the list view allows you exactly that level of flexibility that you're gonna need to make sure that it is easy to use on your phone and like intuitive for yourself. Then tip number 6 is to use the grouping feature of your database. So as you can see in my to-do list, you can quickly see the group for today, tomorrow, the next 7 days, and the next 30 days. My next 30 days is relatively empty because I don't plan that far ahead. I have a couple of tasks sometimes that I need to do, but usually I plan about 7 days ahead. But it's a very easy way for me to see things that are coming up today or tomorrow. And you can actually do this by going in here, and then there is a group feature, and then you can select your groups that you want to use. So I am actually grouping them by the doing date, and it is relative to today. You can also make this like by day, by week, by month, by year, if that is comfortable to you. So just experiment with what works best, because obviously now I'm using a task list as an example, because I feel like that to me is kind of the pinnacle of things that people would want to have on their phone, is a good task list. If you have another database, if you're using this for another feature, just experiment with what works best in terms of grouping. You can also hide groups that are not relevant for you. You can make sure that if something is empty, it automatically get hidden. So anything to keep this view as clean as possible, because that is going to make it as functional and least cluttered on your phone, basically. But for me, it's always really nice that it immediately shows today at the top and then tomorrow as the next one. And it's all one database view. So I didn't have to add like all kinds of separate databases with all kinds of separate views, because as you could see on phone, these two things are always visible. So the sorts and the filter, which again, on PC you can hide it, and I wish you could do that on phone, but since we cannot, it is the best to only have two databases, which is your overdue and your to-do. The overdue simply has different filters than the to-do view, so that's why I had to set it up as a separate database. But this way you only have these blue bars basically only twice, and then the rest looks relatively clean, instead of having to set up all kinds of different database views with different filters just to get that today and tomorrow view, because that would make the page incredibly cluttered. Then tip number 7 is, I would recommend this, by the way, not just for your phone, but always, unless you're actually working with other people in your Notion, is just to fully turn off backlinks and comments and stuff like that. I'd quickly move my camera so I can actually show you the menu. So if you go in here, you can click on customize page, and then you can turn off your backlinks, you can turn off your page discussion, turn off your table of contents, and you can minimize the inline comments. What this is going to do is that even if you're working with other people, I would still recommend to do this on your phone. But if you don't work with other people in your Notion, turn this off for every single page. It is going to clean up your Notion pages and make them so much less cluttered than if you're actually having all of this turned on. It is only useful if you're working with teams to have page discussions and stuff on like that anyways. For me, table of contents, I find it an annoying Notion feature, so I just turn it off always, but that's a personal preference, of course. Specifically on your phone, turning these things off, it just takes more real estate away from the page, making it feel less like you're trying to use a browser version of something on your phone, but more like a native app of Notion on your phone, if that makes any sense. Then I already kind of mentioned tip number 8, but I feel like this comes in again, and I'm just gonna stretch it because I do feel like a lot of people that like Notion like aesthetics. Let the aesthetics go. on your phone, that's not going to be our priority. However, if you still want to give your mobile pages that like oomph, that they still feel like they fit in with your Notion setup, setting up a page icon and a banner can actually still help. It makes the page look a little bit cleaner, a little bit prettier, but it also prevents them from looking cluttered on phone. I would stay away from anything like images in the actual page view, like I've done on my home hub, because obviously here I have like a cute image over here, then I have like cute pictures for my notebook, and I try to make like all the titles and stuff have the same color consistency. And you know, as you can see, I definitely prioritized aesthetics as well on my normal home dashboard. However, on my mobile pages, I tried to just stick with a nice icon and a banner. You'll see very soon if I add the widget on my iPhone why that is also relevant, to make sure that your Notion feels the same on your iPhone. And also, if you use a vastly different theme on your iPhone that you use for your Notion dashboard, make sure that you can like match this up with your iPhone theme or your phone theme, not just iPhone, but any phone theme, of course. Make sure that your icon and your banner are matching with the color scheme and the icon style of your phone. For me, my phone is relatively similar to my Notion setup, or it at least matches enough that it works. If you have one of those highly customized home screens on your phone and you want to have Notion as a pinned app, then I would highly recommend making sure that this is matched up with your phone rather than your Notion setup. But then again, in the end, you're gonna have to prioritize function over aesthetics, because if I look at this, I wouldn't call it a pretty Notion page. I would call it a clean Notion page, but it's not beautiful. Then tip number 9 is something that you already see over here, and that is a cheeky little button. And buttons are so incredibly useful on your phone because it prevents you from having to click on the new add new page or go onto the new page over here, which are both buttons that are terrible to click on phone. They're like not intuitive. They don't show up in the place that you expect them. It's just not great to use that feature on your phone. However, if you add a quick button, it feels very intuitive to click a button on your phone to add a task or to add whatever. You can have your journal entries or something. I also, in my previous Notion setup for 2024, and that's what I still would like to make for my 2025 setup, I had like quick buttons that I had just on one simple page. There was literally just a Notion page with just like 4 buttons. And then I had that pinned as a widget on my home screen. It was super easy for me when I was on the go and I just quickly wanted to write a grocery list. I clicked new note and I wrote it down, and that was it. It was that easy. So if you're setting up a button, if you don't know how to do that, I have a whole video on how to set up Notion buttons. So I'll make sure to link it in the description box down below. But if you click here, as you can see, it just adds a task to my task database as a new task. That's a little template that I have set up to make sure that all my tasks get like a default icon next to it. I make sure that the status is not started, and then I have a thing set up so that it automatically opens it. So if I click this button, it actually opens a page. So this will be a test task. I'll actually make sure to assign it to today so I can find it later and delete it. As you can see, it immediately shows up at the top as well. And then let me quickly show you what that looks like if I do that on my phone. So if I'm on my phone and I actually click the new task button, as you can see, it just opens the page. So it doesn't open in center peak, it actually opens it in just a full page. And then I can write here test number 2, and the doing date is going to be today. Done. I can assign a life area because I didn't do that earlier. And that's it. And then if I go back in like the top corner, you actually just see that test 2 was just created. It shows up on the dashboard, and there we go. That's it. It's that easy. And this makes adding tasks and actually like scheduling them and assigning them a due date and stuff like that super intuitive and super easy. And then tip number 10, which is kind of like a follow-up of the previous tip, is actually using buttons to navigate. As you can see right now, I don't really have that much mobile pages. I just have my task view. But let's say that I also had one where I wanted to go back to a bigger dashboard. If you do want a bigger dashboard, don't set it up like I did over here where you have like everything next to each other. Use buttons for that. Use buttons to create like a little navigation menu for yourself, which then allows you to click around your Notion. I have kind of done this on my hobby page where you can see go to library, enjoy live music, take a trip. These are all buttons that literally the only purpose that they have is that if I click on them, they open another page. So, and then here you can see my main menu again, but this is like an important thing for you. I have a button that goes to my Goodreads, which literally just opens another web page. But using buttons as like navigation features is gonna come in super clutch on phone because you can organize them a bit better than just text. Notion on mobile tends to respect the layout of buttons a bit more than just regular text, I've noticed. And then we have reached that tip where I was talking about this is specifically for iPhone users. However, I think that Android might have something similar, so feel free again to hop in the the comments and add to this if you know how to do it on Android. But that, as you can see, is I actually have a bigger button that is like my task widget, quote unquote, on my home screen. So what you can do on iPhone is if you long press on your home screen and you can actually do edit, then you can select add widget. And then here in your widgets, you're gonna search for Notion. And then I just like to add a single page, but you can also like go for like bigger overviews of your favorites and stuff. So if you have a lot of mobile pages, you can also add them all to your favorites and then just add this favorites list to your home screen if you want quicker and easier navigation. But as you can see, I'm just going to select this one, add widget, and then I'm going to go done. And then I need to press and hold to set it up. And then you're going to go to edit widget, and then you can select which workspace you want to use. And then you can actually select a page. So let's say, what am I gonna use? I'm just gonna go to one of my main dashboard pages, which is my business page, which, by the way, will probably look horrendous on mobile because it's not set up for mobile. But I just want to show you what happens. It's just gonna load it, and as you can see, now on my home screen, I have a quick link to my business page. This is why it becomes important that this setup of that mobile page actually matches your phone aesthetic, because as you can see, you can actually see the banner and the icon on your home screen now. And if I open this, what it's going to do, it's just going to directly load into my business page in my Notion setup. So this is, again, you can see that very scrambled egg main menu, which on computer looks fine, but on mobile looks terrible. And this is where you can also see I have a board view over here. This is what happens in a board view on your phone. It's not great. I cannot recommend it. Also, this page normally has two different things next to each other. Now they're underneath each other and they're both board views. So again, that isn't great. However, the task one, like I said, is built for phone. So every single time I click it, I just immediately go into my task view. And this part, I feel like, is what makes it feel like it's an app on my phone rather than a page in my Notion. It feels like I have a to-do list app on my phone because I just opened that page. And if I click on the button, I don't have to find my page first, but I immediately find it. If you don't like to have a big block like this for iPhone users, you can also set up a Siri shortcut to open this Notion page. I used to have that, to have it like a little app in my folder somewhere, or even an app in your dock at the bottom where now my WhatsApp and Spotify and stuff like that is. That is completely up to you, whether you like how you would like to display it, if you want to have one of those bigger icons or one of those smaller ones. Then tip number 12 is actually making a quick caption inbox. And for this one, I would like to create a page just to show you how simple this can be. Because sometimes you just have a lot of things in your Notion and you really genuinely do not enjoy having like databases and stuff on your phone, but you still want to make sure that you can capture things on the go. So I am literally just gonna write this. This is all that I'm gonna create. Add this to your phone. Add this as one of those accessible pages. And then as you're on the go, you can just do this, to do one, to do two. And then what you can train yourself to do is maybe like put a little reminder in your calendar, and every single Saturday, for instance, Saturday morning with your nice morning coffee, you're gonna sit down and you're gonna look at your inbox and you're gonna actually move things that are in here to your actual Notion setup. You're going to move your to-dos into your task database. You're going to move your notes into your notes database. You're going to check your reminders and add them to your calendar. Like, even if you just use this exactly like you maybe would use Apple Notes or something, it is still nice to have everything in one place because it will still all be in your Notion. You can even build a cheeky little database if you want, where you have an inbox for every week. So that every week you click a button, it creates like a new inbox entry, and then you can just have the same template applied to that page. For instance, a template like this, it doesn't have to be anything special. You write everything down, and then in your weekly review on your Saturday or your Sunday or your Monday morning, whenever you feel comfortable doing that, you sit down and you look at your weekly inbox, and that's the only thing that you're going to use on your phone. You just have like basically a messy dump for yourself where you can just put everything from your brain to paper, and then from there, you take it into your Notion system. You just create like a little inbox for yourself. Then tip number 13 is actually using toggles to make pages a bit shorter. Obviously, your mobile phone is quite narrow, so pages quickly become like very scrollable. And if you have certain overviews that you don't always need, you can always add like a cheeky little toggle. So I'm actually going to do this for my overdue view because I have realized that I don't need to see this all the time. So I can just do this, and this can be overdue. If I now open this page on my phone, what will happen is it's going to load in the page, and you're going to see this toggle, which now has the overdue in it. which I can open and close, which means that I will just basically normally only see my to-do view, my task, like my little task button, and then I can just open the overdue one to make sure that I can check, is there anything overdue that I need to reschedule? No, I can close it again. I don't need to see it, and that's it. It's again another tip that helps you keep things clean, clutter-free, a little bit more aesthetic, but still keep them very functional on your phone. And then there is actually one final feature that I would love to share with you guys, which I only recently discovered. I believe I could not find it anywhere, so I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it is a Notion Pro feature. But there is actually a text-to-speech on your phone, and this is incredibly useful. So what you're gonna do is, if you have your page, you're gonna click into it, and there's a little mic icon. You're gonna click that, and then you're just gonna speak. Like I'm just speaking to you guys now, and it seems like I see the Notion AI symbol, which makes me guess that it is a Pro feature. But what you can do is you can literally just talk to your phone and it will write it out for you. This is something that is so incredibly overpowered if you're someone who likes to take notes on the go. This literally allows you to just talk to your phone and it will write it down. If you have that inbox and you have like your quick note capture section, this is going to help you so much with on the go writing down what you were thinking or any thoughts or anything that you might have. And then you just have it as a written note in your Notion. This can also be incredibly useful if you are a person that just generally likes to talk rather than write things. This is already a great feature, but I think this is especially overpowered for Notion on phone because as far as I could find, this isn't available on computer. There is no text-to-speech on your computer. I've only been able to find this on the phone, and it works pretty darn well. So I am very excited about this feature. I'll definitely be using this as I'm jotting down my thoughts on the go in my quick capture of my notes. But I just wanted to make sure to include this one because I feel like this might actually be a reason to start using Notion on your phone. And that was my video with, in total, 14 tips on how to use Notion on your phone in a more intuitive and better way than you might have done before. Let me know in the comments if you have any additional tips, if you have any questions or suggestions, because I would always love to learn about them. And I'm sure that people watching this video would also benefit greatly from us building like a little community of Notion on phone lovers. Also, if you like this video, please toss it a cheeky like because it does really help the video get to more people. And if you're into Notion, anything healthy productivity, and just lifestyle content, feel free to check out my channel. And if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, everyone!